Hello VC, welcome to my latest video. Yeah, just was bought another shipment from Japan came in, about 25 records I guess. And I usually get a few things for myself and then I try to get some things that I can sell on eBay. And this is a record that I've had in my collection probably 15 years now. And it's probably been since the early 90s that I was been really interested in these Japanese records. And when I first, like I've said in some other videos here, when I first started collecting these Japanese records, it's like, wow, a Japanese record. And I just was looking at, is it near mint? Does it have the OB on it? That's what I wanted. That's what I want. I didn't realize it's the first edition, the original pressing. That's the one that has all the fidelity on it. These reissues, they're bass shy and the highs are a little bright and the bass is a little bit muted on them, on the reissues. And if you haven't heard an original Japanese press, you might not really be that impressed with some Japanese pressings, because I've had some people make comments and say, yeah, those Japanese records, they're not all that good. They don't get the first generation tapes and they don't really sound all that great. Well, if you haven't heard a record like this, because this is one of the records that I got, and in checking it now, this is the original pressing. And you can tell right off the bat, by the age of the record, you should know. See, this is 2,500 yen. This is about 1976 or 78 or so, and this record was made, because that's the price the records were. And we know, this record is from 1972. So it wasn't made in 1976. This is a reissue. And the back of here it says 2,300 yen. And I did a little looking on eBay to see what's available, what kind of records are out there. And this P8274, that's the original pressing. Now it might have been originally 2,000 yen, but it's the same number. And one thing everybody always likes about Yes, it's the Roger Dean artwork. Yeah, close to the edge. This should have been the cover, but they hide it on the inside of the gatefold, and we get a green record. Man, I'd much rather have that on. They did that on the later records. They put a lot of that would have been on the outside of the cover. That would have been a lot cooler. But anyway, that's the way this is. And this, everybody loves this record. This is a great sounding. This is a great record, period. Now, when I got this one, I cleaned it up and I said, you know what? That looks like it might be an original pressing. So I'm going to compare it to my reissue. And boy, oh boy, am I ever glad I did. This thing is so much better sounding. More bass, more inner detail on the instruments. Just a lot better recording. So I'm sure glad. This is now going to be the one in my collection. I'm going to have to get rid of the other one. So it just goes to point out that the original pressing on the Japanese is so much better. Just like our country's the same thing. You get that original press versus the reissue, they just sound a lot different. And again, I had this record in my collection. This again, 2,500 yen. So that's a reissue. This is from 73. This is not from 76 or 78. So it's a reissue. But it's got the OB and it's the mint condition, everything's perfect on it. That's what I was looking for. Well, I've got this one. Came in. And this is now, I noticed that the label was white on this, and the label on the reissue is kind of a cream color. So I said, well, I better have a listen. And now the difference between the reissue and this one sounds like a half-speed master compared to the other one. So much more bass, so much more detail on the record. Just those fine inner details on all the instruments and the voice and the sound stage, but you really notice the bass so much better. Makes their whole record sound so much better. So again, it doesn't have the OB, But you know, it's basically it's near mint. Everything is really nice about it. So I've got another record that's got to go on eBay, but not the one I thought I was gonna sell. I'm gonna sell the one that was in my collection for the first edition. And then this was another one that I got. I bought Tubular Bells, and this one is on the. See, that's on the Virgin Twins. That white label. This again from '73. I'm pretty sure '73. And it's been reissued again, but you know they changed the label. The label's kind of a green Virgin label, so you know that that is a first edition. It doesn't have the OB. I don't have the how much yen the record costs. But I looked it up on eBay, and yeah, this is the first edition versus this half-speed master, CBS half-speed master sound record. And now I have a previous video, probably a year old, where I had bought a Classic Records 200 gram version of this record. And I thought, well, it's really going to be a lot better than this one. Well, when I compared them at the time, I thought, no, this one is better. Now that Classic Records issue, it sounded really nice. It did sound good. It had a lot of really good qualities that I liked about the way it sounded. But I remember this one just had a lot more information on it. It just had a lot more going on. So I figured this has got to be better. Well, now when I've got this one, in comparing them, the first thing I noticed is this has got a lot more bass on it. What? A Japanese record has got more bass than a half-speed master? A lot more bass. Not to say this is bass shy, it's just there's certain parts, you know, if you know this record, there's certain parts of it where the bass line, you're really paying attention to it. It's really grabbing you on there. And especially on my stereo, this record is really, really putting out the bass. And with a lot of clarity, with a lot of detail, with a lot of information in the bass lines. Not to say that this one's not doing it, but when those bass lines are prominent, they're not grabbing your attention like all the other stuff in the high end. There's a lot more stuff going on, and you're paying attention to that more. That's not grabbing your attention because the bass isn't as prominent. Now, there's a couple other things in here, and it really got me. I spent 2 hours at least going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, just learning so much about these different records. And what it is so more than anything, is a different mix. This obviously is the original mix, and this is probably a remix because it's done later. And what they've done, let's say there's a part on this song where I think he's called it the glockenspiel, but it kind of sounds like a bell ringing. And there's that bell ringing, and there's a flute playing. And on this record, the bell is the prominent sound you're hearing. And the bell is really clear, that so much definition. You can really hear the attack of when he's striking the bell. You hear that so clear, and the ringing of it and of the bell comes so really, really clear. You hear the flute playing, but it's sort of in the background more. It's not in the forefront. That's not the prominent thing you're listening to. It's more of an accompanying that glockenspiel. Where now on this record, the flute is the same level as the glockenspiel. And so what it's doing, it's kind of muting out all that clarity, all that definition of the bell that's so beautiful, and when I'm listening to it, I don't hear it on this record. I hear the more of the flute, which is kind of cool. You say, well, there's more stuff going on. But at what expense is it going on? At the expense of that ringing of that bell, how clear it was, how much definition it had, and how that's kind of the flow of the music. That's the groove you're into. You're listening to that. And now that flute is kind of basically taking away from your experience. And there's another part when it goes at the end of a song. There's this bell that they're ringing in the background. It's kind of muted. It's kind of muted on this record. And in most of the recordings that I remember listening to, that bell that's what it sounds like, that muted sound. Oh no, not on the Japanese first press. No, it's not muted at all. You really hear the attack of that bell, the ringing. It's almost like sound waves of that bell. You know how you'd hit a big old bell and it would just put out the sound waves? You're almost feeling the pressure waves off the thing with this record. On this one, it's kind of a muted sound. And, you know, there's some good points of this record. Sort of the transient information, the harmonics between certain instruments on certain times, there's more of that kind of information. But there's another part of it where he's playing the guitar. It's not that, you know, that fuzzy guitar, it's getting really loud. It's another part where it's an acoustic guitar, and he's playing a real pretty part of the song. And that's really what you're focusing on. That's where the groove's taking you into that guitar. And on this one, it's like that glockenspiel thing. You really hear the bells ringing. You really hear the plucking of the guitar, all the body of the guitar, the whole beauty of the guitar in here. On here, he's got the guitar, but there's some other stuff that's being played, and the mix has got those other instruments louder, and it's muting the beauty of the guitar on this one. And so, all in all, great recording, don't get me wrong. And I would really like to, I'm going to have to get that Classic Records reissue and get it back again, and kind of do, because for now, this is the king. The Japanese first edition is the king. This is not the king. And so I'll have to get that Classic Records reissue, just maybe for my sanity, and compare all three, and then I'll know. But boy, really good sound in that Japanese first edition right there. And then I picked up this, which is another Japanese first edition. Well, it's, you know, 2,300 yen, and I think this is probably a 72 record. I don't remember exactly. It's a gatefold. It's really nice if you haven't seen that. This is the inside of the gatefold. You know, some of these older records, they don't. 72, yeah. 72, so, you know, it might have been about 2,300 yen. I think it might have been 2,000, but it's the same number. The 8260 is the same for the first edition. That's the... And so I put this on, and wow, what a great sounding record. This thing knocks your socks off. The bass on it, you know, those synthesizers kicking in, all those transient sounds, those harmonics, wow, dynamics, the cymbals are crashing, the bass drums are kicking. I can feel the impact in the couch. I'm thinking, wow, that's gonna give, this is the one I had. This, you know, I bought this in probably the early 90s, probably like 93 or something. And you know, back in the 1993, records, people weren't buying records. The record stores were kind of like not hardly even selling them. I bought it at a hi-fi shop. That's where, you know, MoFi was selling a lot of their records from out of hi-fi shops. And I bought this Antarctica down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And I was lucky I got number 174. But before we go any further, you know, this is when MoFi was out of California. And they made some really good records here, MoFi did. They always had the analog tape. But I wanted to talk a little about this Anodized 2000, the gain system. You know, what did that mean? Well, they kind of tell you on here. I'll just read a little part of it. They developed the gain system for their cutting lathes. That's where what that gain system was made for, was the lathe. You know, when you're remastering that tape, you're cutting it on a record lathe. And that is really what is going to make the difference. If you've got a superior lathe, like Sterling Sound has, where Cat Stevens, where they cut T for the Tillerman at Sterling Sound and using that their high-end cutting lathe. I think that's the same thing with the Japanese. They have put a lot of money into their cutting lathes, and that's why their records are better, because they're just making them, they're cutting them better. So what's this gain system? What they did was they took the lathe, was outfitted with a MOSFET Class A amplifier. Now in the early 90s there, MOSFETs were the big deal back in the 90s. And a Class A amplifier has always been the best kind of amplifier. It's really hard, it's very expensive, and they run hot. That's why people don't do them a lot. But anyway, Class A versus they reduced 17 op amp stages. So that's why it's the gain system, because they took out 17 op amps and put in a Class A amp. So if you know anything about high end, op amps are not high end. Class A amps are. So that made a big difference on this record. Now one other thing I wanted to clear up before we go was I had said when I reviewed the Santana record that the Music Direct's packaging was about the same as these. And now that I've got one and I'm actually looking at it, no. MoFi is making the best packaging that MoFi has ever done. Music Direct is doing the best packaging jobs. The covers are the thickest. Everything is done better than it's ever been done before. They're doing that wonderful job of that. But this record now, when I compared it to the Japanese first edition, which I thought was going to be a standout record, this one is better. It's got maybe a little bit more bass, not a lot now, a little bit more bass, but what it does have, it's got a lot more fine inner detail on all the instruments, and it just makes the record sound so much better. And so yeah, this is still hands down the best one. Now this has been reissued by Razor and Tile, and I've done another video on ELP's first record where I had got the Razor and Tile edition of it. And when I compared them, I put the Razor and Tile on 180 gram audiophile record, and I'm listening to it and I'm like, wow, I haven't heard this for a while. This record sounded great. So I took my Japanese press, which is probably, I think, is the first edition, put that on, and like I said in my other video, the whole room exploded with sound. It's like, that's what analog does. Those Razor and Tile, they've got to be digitized, because the whole soundstage is just shrunk right in the front, and you're hearing all the music, all the instruments, you're hearing all those music, but you're not hearing all that richness of the harmonics, and all the detail is all there in spades on that Japanese press, where it's not on the Razor and Tile. But now Music on Vinyl has reissued some of this Emerson, Lake and Palmer stuff on a 2LP 180 gram, and they're $40, and they're kind of hard to find. I found this record on eBay, but on the 3 websites that I searched on the internet, the only one is the Elucid Disc has the first LP and Tarkus, but they don't have Trilogy. So I found Trilogy on eBay, but out of England. So I don't think it's really that popular. So I'm not sure if I'm going to buy it or not, because obviously there's not a big demand for it. But I've got these as well, and this has been reissued. So I'll probably buy this and compare. This is a Japanese first edition. This is Japanese first press. MoFi's reissued this, so I'll probably buy that. I'm going to get the MoFi 2LP. This is a quadraphonic disc that I bought, and these are half-speed mastered, so I'll compare that. And of course I have a CBS half-speed master I'm going to compare to the new 45 RPM, and then I have this Eagles Japanese press that I'll compare as well to the reissues that are out there, among some other things. Okay, well, thank you very much for stopping by, and we'll get back to you real soon. Bye for now.